Hello, everyone. Just transitioning over from our talk with Nicole and Erica, all about supporting our neurologic clients. While I'm waiting for everyone to kind of make their way over, I would love for you to throw into the chat some clinical pearls, some things that are like you're musing, some things that you're just like going around your head going, I want to read more about that. I want to know more about that. What is inspiring you and what is lighting you up on this with this conference so far? Hey, Tiffany. Love seeing you all day. Claire says, so many kernels of wisdom from this conference so far. Hey, Brooke. I was just asking as we're waiting for everyone to transition over from the last talk, what are things that you're just like rolling around in your mind? Sarah says, all the things. I know, I'm having a hard time parsing it out myself. So much. So many new tools and strategies to consider. That's it. That's it. The speakers of range are so knowledgeable. I just think seeing the breadth and width of what's possible. And yes, Brooke, that we can be leaders. We're inspired by our concrete examples. Oh, yes, seeing what everyone is doing. I mean, that's the thing. Sometimes we can get stuck on our own silos, that coming together in a space like this, virtual or in person, just encourages us to get out there and do more. Yes. Oh my gosh. Kelsey, I couldn't agree with you more. She says she's so impressed with the common theme of communication and collaboration, and we're not in isolation. And that's what this event is teaching us, right? It's teaching us that we are not in isolation. We are growing in strength. We are growing in leadership. And I have to tell you, I love being an OT. That is just like, for me, that is the theme. That is the theme that I'm just emanating through all of this. Thank you. Keep throwing them in the chat. I'd love to know more and more about your takeaways and sort of what you're musing and thinking about as you're coming down from the first day, right? So today, I am the last session of the day. After this, we have our speaker Q&A room, which is where we're just going to hang out. We're going to hang out and just talk and interact. So I'm excited for that. And I know that I am your gatekeeper between that and those engaging conversations. So I'm going to get started with my talk so we can open up the floodgates to our amazing interactive networking part of our conference. Just taking a moment to transition here. I'm speaking today about an occupationally centered approach to pelvic health. And I'm going to kick this off with a quote. The quote is, OT practitioners ask what matters to you, not what's the matter with you. This is a quote by Virginia Stoffel, and I feel like it really gets at the heart of what an occupationally centered approach actually is. In occupational therapy, occupations refer to the everyday activities that people do as individuals, in families, and with their communities to occupy their time, to bring meaning and purpose to life. Occupations include things people need to do, want to do, and are expected to do. Throughout the evolution of our profession, we have gone through some stages where we were actually really entrenched in the medical model paradigm. We were isolating parts of our body, and we were just focusing and zooming in on that one aspect. It was actually very diagnostic. We weren't concerned with what was affecting the rest of the body or the mind or the spirit. And so as a result, our treatment, our intervention, these processes, they changed accordingly. And we became focused on tasks and not so much on occupations. We were doing things like the pegboard. We were doing things like balloon toss and the arm bike, right? We were just focusing on that one part of the body rather than the whole person, and looking at their everyday occupations that were meaningful to them. Thank goodness things changed. I know, total flashback from inpatient rehab years, arm bike. I haven't thought about that in so long. But here's the thing. From the start, OT did not fit neatly into a medical model. Even today, OT is very often grouped with very respectable fields: PT, nursing, and even speech therapy due to the similarities in our names, our treatment processes, and our treatment settings. But we didn't replicate other treatment approaches. We pulled from so many different places to develop the most beneficial way to functionally empower clients. This involved aspects of PT, of nursing, but also social work, psychiatry, orthopedics, and more. Immediately, occupational therapy stood out as a unique and holistic practice. And as OTs, we have a chance to shine and to offer what no healthcare profession can: the use of occupation-based activities to promote healing and to restore dignity. With our clinical eyes and this unique skill set, we can literally turn daily activities into meaningful therapeutic interventions. When OTs use purposeful occupation-based interventions in our work, we are using something that has actual relevance to the client's life in their environment and in their context. It's not just a task that's repetitive, fabricated, or mechanistic. So what we're really asking ourselves is this meaningful to them? Is it purposeful? Is it therapeutic? And is it internally motivating? If we just focus on a skill, on a particular skill, and not that bigger picture, it doesn't matter if the person can step on and off that mock staircase, Rocky, in the rehab facility, if they can't get on and off the bus that they use to get to work daily, right? So in this way, when we participate in occupations, it can be considered both a means and an end in the OT process. And I personally can't think of anything more beautiful. So for example, right, a client has anxiety about being a new parent and has this goal of reducing it. Well, we could use yoga, we could use mindfulness as example therapeutic occupations to help this client reach that end goal. However, we could use this same activity, yoga or mindfulness, as a means to an end. Our client has an illness that stops them from doing their beloved weekly yoga practice. So we break it down using task analysis and activity modification in a stepwise fashion. So in these examples, yoga becomes both a means and an end. And in both scenarios, it's engaging and motivating for the client to participate in. So let's get into some more specifics now, right? Let's look at a little case study. So I'm thinking about a client who came to see us at the Functional Pelvis for painful sex. She was a new parent. She was about 20 weeks postpartum, and her partner expressed just how much he wanted to return to intimacy with her. And out of fear of the pain, right, she was avoiding him. So here is this incredible opportunity to focus on the occupation of sex while going so much deeper. No pun intended. We got to have fun with our specialty, right? So thinking about this client, together we worked out that she had little desire to return to intimacy with her partner out of fear of the pain. But perhaps more than that, she had also lost her connection with him in the process. She felt like she wasn't getting the support she needed with her new role as a parent and was unable to share this with him, right? So physical and emotional intimacy wasn't available between them. She also leaned into throughout her sessions with us that she felt like her body wasn't hers anymore and that she couldn't imagine sharing it with someone else. Things that were contributing it to were, she shared with me she had gained an extra 30 pounds and that the baby nursed so frequently that in her words, she had felt touched out. So really leaning into and understanding these multidimensional factors. So how she felt unsupported from her partner, right? What her perfect, intimate occupation looked like, her feeling touched out, and her self-consciousness about her weight gain all impacted her pelvic floor. She didn't just have pain with insertion. She feared the pain, had little desire, and lost that connection with her partner and maybe even her sense of self. So by working through nervous system down training work, expectations, how to better communicate with her partner, right? That she wasn't feeling the help, wasn't getting the help that she needed. Strategies for pumping and getting assistance with bottle feeding, right? Her partner helping her with internal work as a form of initial shared intimacy. Modifying positions and incorporating scar massage, right? These are all things we worked on, and she was able to return to her occupation with a more multidimensional understanding of what was so fulfilling for her and her relationship and with her partner and her sense of self. And of course, this had such a positive impact with her relationship with her new baby as well. So as OTs in pelvic health, when we embrace being stewards of occupation and facilitate our clients' awareness of how occupation impacts the pelvic floor and frankly, vice versa, it infuses the therapeutic relationship with meaning and intent. And I have to say that the mindfulness of the mundane can be such an opportunity for a nervous system reset. So when our clients use ADLs, such as lifting their baby off of the ground without pain, or emptying the bottom rung of that dishwasher without feeling prolapse symptoms, as opportunities to just kind of get through the activity, but instead check in with their pelvis and neck positioning as they hip hinge, or checking in to see they are not holding their breath to better manage their IAP when lifting that heavy pot from the bottom rung of the dishwasher. The activity becomes mindful. It almost becomes a sensory anchoring activity of focusing on the here and now. We don't need to squeeze in 10 clamshells or leg slides at the end of the day when we can use our life, our mind, our environment, and our occupations as a way to re-engage and heal. And when these activities become mindful in this really simple way, the nervous system steps into a parasympathetic flow of feeling settled. And this alone, my friends, this ritual of stepping into calmness in small, frequent moments throughout our day dramatically impacts the pelvic floor. We know that when we work with the pelvic floor, we are working with a person's nervous system. So weaving in feelings of safety and belonging are so important on our client's healing journey. And the other thing I think about, right, is that it can be about navigating a new role. Right? Sometimes it's just that. And as OTs, we know the power of roles, habits, and routines. Another client I'm thinking about is this college student who came to therapy for painful sex, but she also came for constipation, as I recall, SIBO, diarrhea, and she just had a lot of gut health issues going on. She was actually referred to by her dietitian. And by understanding the role as a student, she was a new grad student, and the impact of stress on her system, right? So she didn't want to go to the bathroom on campus. So she would keep it in all day after she got home, and she had a full day of classes. The stress going into meal prep because she was on a strict FODMAP diet due to her SIBO. She was now understanding by working together how holding her bowel movement in and that loss of enjoyment in meal prep and eating were all heightening that nervous system state, right? And that impacted her elimination. She had, in the process, developed an overactive pelvic floor, all leading again back to that experience of painful sex. So this shift of role change and that ripple effect had impacted so many areas of her life, including her pelvic floor. It was so much more complex than just a single diagnosis. So we are so much more than a pelvic therapist. We literally address the pelvic floor in the context of what matters most to our clients. We facilitate a more meaningful life for our clients by simply leaning into all of the factors that have that domino effect, right? That impact one another. They see it for that truly interrelated system that it is, and that we see that it is. And so therefore they feel empowered. They feel extrinsically and intrinsically motivated to do something about it. And what a gift to give your clients. What a gift to be that example to your colleagues. Occupation is medicine. And when we participate and engage in activities, connections, and experiences that bring us joy, meaning, and purpose, it becomes the open door that leads us feeling able to do the things that light us up and shift us into a new state of well-being. And you know what's so cool? We finally have the science behind what we as OTs have known since the 1900s about the power of occupations. So put it in the chat if you've heard of this. Just say a simple yes. This field is called psychoneuroimmunology. And it's the science behind what we do, when we do what we love and use occupation as medicine, it profoundly impacts us on a biophysical level. And it shifts our biochemistry. I'm getting a bunch of yeses. Fantastic. I knew I was in good company. I'm not the only dork who reads about these things. So when we do things that light us up mentally, emotionally, and physically, it sends out this cocktail of endorphins, right? It surges through our blood. So we've got dopamine, we've got oxytocin, we've got serotonin, right? And so this biochemical reaction is linked to our nervous system and our immune system. And it has this really cool bi-directional relationship with these components. So our nervous system moves into this parasympathetic response, and our immune system is impacted. So white blood cells work more effectively. Inflammatory cytokines are downregulated, so we have less inflammation in our body. It also does things like lengthening our telomeres. So telomeres are these guys that basically cap and protect the end of our chromosomes. Kind of like, you know, that shiny part at the end of a shoelace that keeps it from fraying. Telomeres are like that for our chromosomes, and they bring this quality of well-being and longevity, and they have so many other healthy functions. So when I think about this research, I think science is proving what intuition has known forever, that the power of engaging in incredibly restorative occupations are where healing takes place. We saw this in the 1900s when soldiers were coming home back with life-sustaining injuries from war. Engaging in something meaningful helped the whole person find purpose and joy. And now we have research. Now we have research to support what it is we do, why we do it. And this is so exciting for our profession. It is such a privilege of our profession that we get to step back and look at a person in their entirety by looking at their social, physical, and environmental context. We get to look at their bio, their psycho, and their social well-being, and it makes our clients feel seen and be heard. And I have to admit, it is remarkably fulfilling to practice this way. I don't think I could ever go back. I don't think I could ever see care another way after seeing it through the occupational therapy lens. We have the models, we have the frameworks to really step into this. Can we give ourselves permission to fully step into that? Give me a yes. Give me a yes if you're on board. I want to know the models, the frameworks that you guys think about when you're thinking about occupation. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. It gives me a second to sip my water too. So for me, when I think about these models, I'm thinking about the occupational, the client-centered approach of things like the KAWA, the KAWA model, right? So this one looks at occupation as the narrative. I love that one. We have the CMOP-E, if I'm saying that right. This one has the emphasis on engagement, spirituality. So we're not just looking at performance. We have the MOHO. The MOHO looks at change in performance patterns and their effect on desire, right? So we call that volition. It also looks at habits and preferences. And this model gives you the ability to look at it the other way around too. So it's like truly this beautiful open system. And then we have the OTIPM. This one's by Ann Fisher, which shows OT's unique role by emphasizing contextual factors as it relates to function. Those are the ones I came up with. If there's any I'm missing, throw them in the chat. I want to keep learning. I want to keep growing. I want to keep adding new models to my scope. So throw them in. Now, this doesn't mean there isn't room for exercises and movement-based approaches, right? Let's be really clear about that. These are very often the things, that are occupations in themselves, like the yoga example I mentioned earlier, right? But I encourage us to leave room for not just assuming that it's what every client needs. So this is where we actively engage them in their goals and their desires. Our clients are truly our best guides. I've heard that throughout every discussion I went to today in this summit. Our clients know what they need to move forward. We just have to listen to them and be aware when it's time to transition them into functional context and activity. I personally love incorporating strategies into daily occupations, like using daily occupation as treatment. So we need to make sure that they know how to incorporate these strategies into movements of everyday life, right? Occupational-based treatments make this a no-brainer for clients. They see that direct carryover into their life, and they're intrinsically motivated to do them because they see why. It's not some disconnected, set of exercises or activities that we're giving them. So we can embrace our training of manual muscle testing and active range of motion and passive range of motion, but that's just a portion of what we do. We do use manual techniques, but we also examine habits and routines and occupational performance and activity analysis. We offer positioning advice for toileting, ways to decrease scar pain by putting less pressure on a C-section scar, ways to care for your children and do ADLs and IADLs to reduce leaking, ways to be more independent and self-managing your own care, positions to make intercourse more comfortable, right? We are treating that whole person, including the physical, but we offer so much more than our manual techniques. A client comes in to see us and they're leaking and they have pelvic pain, and yes, we treat the leaking and we treat the pelvic pain through exercise, positioning, retraining. But when teaching our exercises and techniques, we always apply it to things like getting dressed in the morning, body mechanics with getting in and out of the car, posture while picking something up, techniques to decrease intra-abdominal pressure while climbing up a set of stairs, right? And being mindful to sense when our pelvic floor or our jaw starts gripping, right? This is what makes us stand out as OTs. And clients remember this because it's meaningful. Remember that the pelvic floor is so esoteric for most people. There's no reason rehab should be. The work we do with them should feel connected, related, and directly applicable to the issues they're struggling with. Occupation is the central part of what makes us OTs. Our daily occupations give meaning and purpose to our life and have a direct influence on our health and well-being. The truth is, as OTs, no one else is better equipped to specialize in pelvic health than we are. After all, we already speak the language of ADLs, toileting, sleep hygiene, self-care, and sexuality. And we look beyond the most obvious symptoms, letting pelvic health clients know we are there to support them, not just tell them what to do. That's exactly the kind of treatment pelvic health clients need and deserve. Every single one of you are an expert in activity modification, ADLs, functional activities, life balance, behavior modification, and most importantly of all, occupation. So let's get out there and show the world our approach to supporting clients, one occupation at a time. Thank you so much for joining me and for being at this summit. It has been an absolute joy. Kelsey, I couldn't have done any of this without you and without all of you coming together to support every single one of our 35 amazing speakers. I will see you guys over at our breakout sessions where we get to all interact.